You think you're above the rules. That's what Marlene G. Ford screamed in my face at exactly 6:15 on a Tuesday morning, and honestly, I can still hear the echo of it sometimes. Kind of like an old radio left on static, you know what I mean? I was just standing there in my driveway, microfiber cloth in one hand, coffee in the other, feeling the warmth slip away into the dawn air. The Lamborghini, Sarah's old Aventador, was catching the first rays of sunrise red paint, glinting beads of water clinging to the hood like dew on a tomato vine back home in Tennessee. It should have been peaceful. Should have been one of those moments where you take a breath and remember to be grateful. Yeah? Well, that's before she decided the suburbs needed a warden. And apparently, I'd volunteered for the role of public enemy number one. I didn't know it at the time, but the clipboard she had pressed to her chest that morning, with those pink neon nails flashing every time she made a note, that clipboard would end up as Exhibit A in a federal case file. Her whole look, her posture, even the way she glanced down at her phone like she was documenting crime scene evidence, it was all, I don't know, it was all too much. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from, right? That's how surreal it felt, like I'd stumbled into someone else's reality TV show. That morning I was thinking about Sarah happens a lot when I'm washing the car. Something about the rhythm, the quiet, the way your hands remember things your heart wishes it could forget. She'd handed me the keys 2 weeks before the accident, grinning like she'd just given me the world. Which in a way, she had. That car wasn't just a car, you know. It was her way of saying she understood what those 12 years in the cockpit had cost me, what they'd cost us. 2 years she's been gone now, but some mornings it still hits me harder than I expect. I folded the cloth, stepped back, looked at that paint perfect, not a spot or speck. Sarah used to say, dignity isn't about what you own. It's about how you carry what you've earned. I'd earned this every deployment, every night, flying over hostile territory, every time I strapped into that F-22 thinking maybe I wouldn't come back. That car sitting in my driveway wasn't a toy, it was a monument to survival, to her belief in me, to everything we'd built together in this sleepy corner of Meadow Ridge, Virginia. The neighborhood on paper was perfect, 60% civilian families, 40% military land lease properties. My lot was a corner federal property under some special program for active duty officers. Little metal signs posted along the property line made it official. U.S. military property. No trespassing. The HOA. Now that was a new thing. Only 6 months old, started out as a volunteer club, block parties, keeping the playground tidy, all that harmless stuff. I'd even donated to their first fundraiser. Seemed like the right thing to do. That's when I saw her, Marlene, marching up my driveway like she was the one who signed my paychecks. Clipboard tucked under her arm, white cardigan despite the summer heat, phone in hand. Her nails were a blinding pink, the sort of color you couldn't miss even if you tried. She stopped about 10 feet from the car, eyes scanning it like she was prepping for a NASA launch. Not a smile, not a wave, just that stare. I watched her reflection in the car's paint waiting, trying to decide if this was just another nosy neighbor or something more. I set the cloth down inside the garage, walked out military bearing, relaxed but unmistakable like they taught us in officer school. She looked up and I caught the shift in her face. Not quite a smile, more like a teacher about to hand back a failing grade sweet, on the surface, sharp underneath. "Good morning," she said, all honey and vinegar. "What a beautiful car. Must be nice to afford such luxuries in a neighborhood like this." That hung in the air, and there's 100 ways I could have answered. I could have told her about the 14-hour shifts, the 3 combat deployments, how Sarah worked 2 jobs so we could make it work. I could have explained that the car was memory, not luxury. But I'd learned that some people don't ask because they want answers. They ask because they want ammunition. So I just nodded, polite but distant, and waited for her to show her cards. She didn't. Instead, she raised her phone and took a photo, real casual. The click was barely audible, but I heard it. Then she scribbled something on her clipboard, her pen moving fast. I watched her reflection in the side mirror, saw her bite her lip in concentration, her eyes darting from the car to her notes. Something small, a piece of plastic maybe, fell from her bag onto the driveway. She didn't notice or didn't care. I made a mental note document, don't engage. That's what they teach us in JAG briefings about civilian disputes. She looked up, smile still fixed and not a single degree warmer. "I'm the president of the Meadow Ridge Homeowners Association," she announced like she'd been elected mayor of the world. "We've been working hard to maintain standards in this community. I'm sure you understand the importance of keeping our neighborhood looking its best for everyone." That word everyone had an edge to it. Like I wasn't included. Like I was something she had to put up with. "I live on military property," I told her, tone level. "HOA regulations don't apply here. Simple, factual, no drama." Should have ended it, but her smile only got wider, more artificial. She tapped the clipboard, took a step closer. I actually thought she'd touched the car. Her hand hovered near the door, fingers outstretched. Then she pulled back at the last second. "We'll see about that," she said, still all sugar but with steel underneath. "Have a wonderful day." She turned on her heel, walked back down the driveway, heels clicking on the pavement. At the sidewalk she turned, snapped another photo, then marched around the corner. I watched her go out of habit the way you track a bogey on radar even when you know it's not a threat yet. I crouched down where that piece of plastic had fallen. Small translucent adhesive on one side. Nail tip maybe. I left it there, pulled out my phone, took a photo. Then I went inside, fired up the security camera footage, and watched our little dance from 4 different angles. The system military grade, 4 cameras, full coverage, cloud backup I'd installed after Sarah died, partly for security, partly because having a mission, even a small one, helped fill the silence. On screen, Marlene looked clinical, detached. She'd touched the car, brushed the handle, checked the lock. The footage was crystal clear. Time-stamped. Admissible. I saved the clips to 3 separate drives, logged the incident, civilian contact. 0900 hours, unauthorized photography, possible attempt to access property. Felt excessive, felt paranoid, but I'd learned to trust my instincts. This wasn't over. This was recon. She was mapping the terrain, looking for weak points, planning her next move. The street outside looked normal again. Birds in the trees, a car starting somewhere down the block, hum of the AC unit. But something was off. I could feel it, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And drop it did. 3 days later, first letter arrives, thick yellow envelope, HOA return address, my name in bold. I found it wedged in my mailbox when I got home from a training flight. Still in my flight suit helmet bag, slung over one shoulder, sun setting, painting the street in gold. Inside violation notice. My car allegedly parked 3 inches over the property line onto the sidewalk. Violation of Section 4.2, fine of $50, payable in 2 weeks. I read it twice, went outside with a tape measure. The Lamborghini sat 8 inches inside my line, not 3 over 8 inside. Took photos from every angle, time-stamped. Sent a polite email with proof attached, the property survey. No response. 3 days later, second yellow envelope. This time exterior paint color, not approved by the Architectural Review Board. House must be repainted or face escalating fines. I stared at the letter, then the house. Pale gray, chosen 2 years before the HOA existed. Legal, permitted, inspected. I called the number on the HOA site. Marlene answered, voice too bright. I explained. She paused, not to consider but to choose her words. "Rules are rules now," she said, voice all surface, no depth. "The HOA has authority over all properties in Meadow Ridge, no exceptions." I gritted my teeth. "I live on federal military property. The HOA doesn't have jurisdiction. I can send you the documents." Longer pause. Then she laughed. Not real laughter, the dismissive kind. "We'll see what our legal counsel says about that. Have a good day, Captain Carver." She hung up before I could correct her. Major, not captain. 3 years running, but she didn't care. All she cared about was control. I stood there, phone in hand, something shifting in my chest. This wasn't going to end with logic or documentation. This was going to escalate. 4 days later, third letter, vehicle parked outside more than 48 hours, another $50 fine. Checked my logs. The car had only been out for 2 hours, not 48. Sent more proof, more photos, more timestamps. Silence. Now I was watching, really watching. Every night I pulled the security footage, scanned for patterns. Marlene walked past my house 4, sometimes 6 times a day. Clipboard notes, photos. Once I watched her measure the trash bin distance from the curb with a tape. Regulation perfect, but she wrote something down anyway. This wasn't enforcement, it was surveillance. And it only got worse. The 4th letter came the next week, then the 5th, then I lost count. Every new envelope found some microscopic violation. Grass height exceeded by 5/8 of an inch. House numbers not illuminated after sunset. Garden hose visible from the street, aesthetic infraction. Every fine $50. I scanned and logged every notice, built a spreadsheet, dates, accusations, my evidence, her lack of response. The numbers blurred my eyes, burned sleep, came in pieces, but I kept at it because that's what JAG taught us. If it comes to a fight, you build a paper trail. Let them pile up their accusations while you quietly pile up facts. But staying calm got harder when the campaign went public. She started emailing the entire neighborhood subject lines like Community Standards Alert and Resident Violation Update. She never named me, but everybody knew who the corner lot luxury vehicle was. The words she chose, ostentation division, undermining community values, they stung. Not because they were true, but because neighbors started looking at me different. Mrs. Patterson across the street stopped waving. The Johnsons found reasons to go inside when I mowed the lawn. Only old Blake Donovan, end of the block, still said hello, and even he had that worried look, like he wanted to warn me but didn't know how. Then I stumbled across the online group Meadow Ridge HOA Watch. 230 members, photos of my house from every angle. The car front and center circles drawn around violations. Comments. Why does one person get to flaunt wealth while the rest of us follow the rules? What kind of example for our children? Some people defended me, most didn't. A few wanted the HOA to take legal action, force me out. I screenshotted everything, saved it with the violation letters and camera footage. Evidence of what exactly harassment, targeted enforcement, civil rights violation may be if you stretch the definition. But nothing criminal. Nothing that would make her stop. That night I spread everything out on my desk. Letters, screenshots, footage, a web of obsession growing out of control. That's when I called JAG Captain Brooke Templeton, sharp, steady, the kind of lawyer you'd want in your foxhole. She listened, asked questions, then told me what I already knew but didn't want to hear. Document everything. Don't engage. When she goes too far, and she will, you'll have everything you need. She promised to send certified copies of every document showing my property's federal status, deed survey, everything that made me immune to HOA overreach. 3 days later it arrived, 20 pages certified, stamped. I made copies, sent one to Marlene, signature required. She signed for it, confirmed delivery. That afternoon, I got a violation notice demanding I remove my security cameras. They violated privacy standards. The same cameras that recorded her trespassing 6 times in 2 weeks. That's when I knew this was never about rules. This was about her needing to control someone she couldn't control, and she was running out of patience. The letter stopped. At first I thought maybe she'd given up, but my gut said otherwise. Neighbors said she'd been seen pacing at dawn, muttering to herself. When an enemy stops attacking, it doesn't mean they're finished. It means they've changed tactics. Then the email started. 7 in 7 days, each more aggressive. Escalating concern over non-compliant property owners. No names, but everyone knew who she meant. The content was all fabricated photos of my grass from weird angles, noise complaints at times. I wasn't even home paint peeling. That was nothing but a shadow. The replies varied. Some defended me. Some stayed silent. Some agreed. A couple blocks over even replied, all that they were glad someone was finally addressing ostentatious displays of wealth. That word again. I saved every email. The evidence grew, telling a story even if I never opened my mouth. Then she created another group. This one focused entirely on surveillance and complaint. 230 members, daily photos of my car and house captions full of bile. Why does one person get to ignore the rules? What gives him the right? Someone needs to take action. The comments turn nasty character assassinations by strangers, neighbors, debating my worth like I was a headline, not a human. Part of me wanted to reply, post all the proof, clear my name. But Captain Templeton's words echoed in my head. Don't engage. Let her keep escalating. The more public, the more witnesses. So I stayed silent, screenshotted everything, fortified my case. The surveillance got worse. Every night I reviewed footage. Marlene passed my house like clockwork, 11:00 a.m., 2:00 p.m., 5:30, 8:45. Same path, same pauses, notes, photos. She was so consistent I could set my watch by her. Then one Wednesday, I caught her on camera walking up the driveway, looking around, then running her hand along the car, searching for flaws to photograph. She crouched, took pictures of the undercarriage, the tires. Then, without a shred of hesitation, she tried the door handle, just reached out and tested it. It was locked, obviously, but the intent was clear. I watched the clip 3 times. Her face wasn't angry or upset, just methodical, like she was checking off an item on a to-do list. I saved the video called Captain Templeton. She told me to report it to base security, get it on record that a civilian was trespassing and attempting to access government property. I did as she said. Sergeant took my statement, logged the footage, opened a case file. Civilian harassment, federal property case number, assigned official timestamp. Next morning, she was back, this time with a sound meter standing inside my property line, documenting noise violations that didn't exist. She stood there for 5 minutes writing notes. When she left, I checked the camera 3 feet inside my line. Trespassing again. I documented it, added it to the reel. Over the past month, I'd compiled 43 separate incidents, trespass, attempted access, fake violations. I burned the footage to a drive, labeled it, made 3 backups. Friday, another incident. I had a training flight scheduled, gone all day. Before I left, I made sure every camera was recording, every backup armed. That night, reviewing footage, I saw her. 11:15 a.m. She went up to the garage, tried the side door, peered through the window, circled the house for nearly 10 minutes, talking on her phone, gesturing. I couldn't hear the call, but I caught fragments from her lips. Don't worry, I'll take care of it soon. Just need the right moment. Watching her on screen, I realized this wasn't going to stop until something forced it to stop. She was building towards something, reconnaissance, preparation, the calm before action. I summarized the footage, sent it to Captain Templeton, subject line, escalating. Her reply came within the hour. I see it. Stay vigilant. Don't confront. Let her make the next move. We'll be ready when she does. That night, the house felt emptier than ever. Sarah would have known what to say, how to lighten the burden. But she was gone. All I could do was what I'd been trained to do. Stay calm, disciplined. Wait for the enemy to reveal themselves. The smell hit me first, gasoline sharp and chemical, cutting through the early morning air like a warning I'd arrived too late to heed. I'd flown all night, cross-country navigation exercise. Got home at 6:15 a.m., still in my flight suit, mind still ticking through debrief notes. Garage light was off when it should have been on. The opener didn't work. I tried the side door unlocked. I always lock it. Always. 12 years of security training beaten into my bones, and the door was unlocked. The fluorescent bulbs flickered on, and the scene in the garage. I can't describe it except to say it looked like war. The Lamborghini, Sarah's car, our last piece of joy, was destroyed. Every panel keyed, every surface carved with entitled in 6-inch letters. The windshield smashed, spiderwebbed with 3 impact points. All 4 tires flat valve stems lying like spent shell casings. And everywhere gasoline, poured over the hood roof, pooling on the floor. Whoever did this was ready to finish the job, to drop a match and watch it all burn. But they'd stopped. Ran, maybe lost their nerve, maybe heard something and panicked. I stood in the doorway, every instinct screaming for action, but training held me. Scene preservation, evidence. I photographed everything, wide shots, close-ups, timestamps, measurements. Then I saw it, a pink artificial nail snapped off, half buried in gasoline. The same neon pink I'd seen flashing on Marlene's clipboard 100 times. 6 photos, then I kept searching. Black Sharpie still wet. Women's footprints size 7 or 8. On the door frame, a partial handprint, small, 4 fingers clear. I called 911. Kept my voice level. Vehicle vandalism, attempted arson, federal property, need officers and crime scene unit. The first patrol car arrived at 6:32. 2 officers, young but serious. Do you know who did this? The younger asked, notepad out. I nodded. I had the evidence already, 2 months' worth. USB drive handed over. Everything's time-stamped, backed up. Footage from last night. Subject enters garage at 2:37, remains inside for 43 minutes, leaves at 3:25. Gray minivan, partial plate. They took the drive, went to work, photos, gloves, chain of custody. Just like the manuals say. They called me over to watch the footage, zoomed frame by frame. 2:33 gray minivan. 2:35 figure in dark clothing. 2:37 door opens, figure enters, no forced entry. 40 minutes of darkness, then at 3:25 the figure flees, something pink dropping on the way out. 3:27 minivan speeds off. They asked me to zoom on one frame, 3:25 face caught by the street light, pink nails catching the light. That's her, one officer said, not even a question. I nodded. Marlene G. Ford, HOA president, self-appointed queen of Meadow Ridge. The officer looked at me. Do you want to press charges? Because once we start this, it's going to get loud, public, and she's going to lawyer up. I didn't hesitate. Press charges. All of them: vandalism, trespassing on federal property, attempted arson. Whatever you've got. He nodded. We'll need a statement, a full timeline, everything she's done. I was ready. The documentation was done. The case built one sleepless night at a time. The damage to the car, $87,000 to fix bodywork, paint, windshield, tires. 3 months in the shop, maybe more. But that didn't matter as much as what came next. When someone who's operated without consequence finally faces some. The arrest warrant came through at 4 that afternoon. Captain Templeton called, voice crisp, probable cause established. Federal trespass, destruction of property. We're picking her up at 6. Do you want to be involved? I said yes, but not in the way she expected. I wanted to talk to Marlene first, one last chance for her to explain herself before the world did it for her. At 4:30, I called her HOA number. She answered, still professional, still pretending nothing had happened. Meadow Ridge HOA, this is Marlene. I kept my voice neutral. This is Holden Carver. I need to talk to you about my car. 5 seconds of silence. Then I don't know what you're talking about. My Lamborghini was vandalized. Gasoline scratches broken windshield. I think you know something about that. Another silence, then that same fake laugh. That's terrible. Maybe someone got tired of the ostentation. Actions have consequences, Holden. Maybe this is just natural consequences for behavior that, while technically legal, was morally questionable. I let the silence stretch. I have security footage, I said. Footage of you entering my garage at 2:37 a.m., leaving at 3:25. Your face is visible. Your car is visible. The nail you dropped is being tested for DNA. Complete silence. Then barely above a whisper, you can't prove that was me. I can. I will. The police are reviewing the evidence. They'll be coming for you soon. I'm giving you a chance to explain. More silence, movement on her end, something knocked over. This is entrapment. You're trying to trick me into saying something incriminating. I stayed calm. I'm giving you a chance to be honest before lawyers get involved, before this goes public. Her voice cracked. You think you're so special, flying your jets, driving your expensive car, living on your special property where normal rules don't apply. You have no idea what it's like for the rest of us watching you parade around. There it was, the heart of it, not about regulations, but resentment. She decided my success was her failure, that the only way to feel bigger was to make me small. So you destroyed my car, I asked. She hesitated. Then I just wanted you to understand. To teach you, you can't ignore the rules. What rules? I live on federal property. The HOA has no jurisdiction. I'm the president. I make the rules. People listen to me, respect me. You don't get to just opt out. Direct question, did you do it? 10 seconds of silence. Then I wanted to scare you. That's all. I wasn't going to burn it. I just wanted you to know I could. Confession, clear, unambiguous, and the police were listening on the other end. Thank you for being honest, I said, and meant it. Because honesty, even too late, is better than a lifetime of lies. Then I heard the voices, the car door slam. Marlene G. Ford, a man called. I need to go, she whispered. The line went dead. I sat in my kitchen phone, still in hand, listening to the silence. It was over. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed a photo from an unknown number. Marlene in handcuffs being led to a patrol car, neighbors gawking from their lawns, some with phones out, some just wide-eyed. She looked small, defeated, nothing like the iron-willed woman who'd marched up my driveway with that clipboard and a pocket full of rules. Another text came through a video, this time from a different number. Marlene being read her rights, her face red and streaked with mascara, voice breaking as she tried to explain, "It's all a mistake. I never meant," but the officer just kept reading. The video cut off as she was placed in the car. And that was it. Her power was gone. I forwarded the photo and video to Captain Templeton. Her reply was immediate. Well done. Stay available for formal statements. Trial prep will start next week. I set the phone down and looked out at the street as the sun slipped behind the rooftops. Quiet, peaceful, the same orange and gold that Sarah always loved. The kind of evening that used to mean wine on the porch and the slow untangling of a long day. Nothing had changed, and everything had. The next day, I walked out to the garage, looked at the ruined Lamborghini scratches, worse in the daylight, the word entitled gouged into metal deeper than I'd realized. But they were just scratches, just damage. What mattered wasn't the paint or the money. What mattered was the lesson: stand your ground, keep your dignity. Don't let someone else's anger or jealousy shape who you become. That weekend, Marlene made bail, $10,000 posted by someone she must have called from jail, or maybe a family member who still believed she could be fixed. The judge issued a protective order, 500 feet, no contact, no emails, no walking past my house, no more community updates. Violate it, and she'd go straight back to jail. No questions. The evidence was overwhelming: her confession, the footage, the fingerprints, the nail. It should have been over. But it wasn't. 4 days after her release, my phone buzzed just before midnight. Security alert motion detected on the rear fence. I was in my office working through next week's flight schedules, coffee cold, tension running high. 4 cameras came up live on my laptop. Camera 3, a figure climbing the back fence. Dark hoodie backpack moving like someone who's watched too many cop shows and not learned a thing from any of them. I zoomed in. It was her. I recognized the way she moved, the size, the hesitancy. Panic doesn't help in combat, and it doesn't help at home either. I called 911. Voice steady, explained intruder on military property. Suspect is out on bail for prior crimes, active protective order. Armed response authorized. The dispatcher's tone changed in a heartbeat. Units on the way, 5 minutes. Stay inside. Do not engage. I acknowledged, locked the office door, retrieved my collapsible baton, non-lethal legal, the same one I'd carried on base in Iraq, never had to use it. I hoped I wouldn't now. I positioned myself in the living room, lights off, clear sight lines to both entrances. She tried the back door first, handle rattled, locked. Then the kitchen window, a crack, the faint sound of breaking glass. She reached through, unlocked it from inside, climbed in. I could hear her breathing, ragged, angry, desperate. She moved into the living room carrying a red plastic gas can in one hand, a hammer in the other. The plan was clear: finish what she'd started in the garage. Burn the house. Destroy everything. She started dousing the couch in gasoline, muttering, "You took everything from me, ruined my life. Think you're so perfect." Not anymore. Her voice was splintered sharp. She set the can down, pulled out a cheap plastic lighter. I spoke calm, even command voice. "Put it down." She spun, eyes wild, lighter and hand hammer raised. This is your fault. If you just followed the rules." "I'm not going to hurt you," I said, not moving, not threatening. "But you need to stop now before this gets worse." She laughed a high, brittle sound. Worse, how could it be worse? I've lost everything. My reputation, my position, everyone knows. You made sure of that. She stepped forward, hammer up, not quite a threat, but close. I kept my voice level. You could have stopped at any time. You chose this. She screamed a real animal scream and rushed me, swinging the hammer. I'd trained for this. She was uncoordinated, furious, but unfocused. I stepped in, trapped her arm, applied pressure until the hammer fell. She tried to scratch kick, but I kept her at a distance. No strikes, just containment. She fought for half a minute, then crumpled to the floor, sobbing. Why won't you hit me? Just hit me. Make it make sense. Make. I stepped back. Because that's not who I am. You came here to burn my house, to hurt me, and I still won't give you what you want. She looked up broken. Why not? Because discipline means control, even when no one would blame you for losing it. Sirens in the distance. She heard them too and turned to the door, panic on her face. They're coming for me. Yes, I said. You broke into my house, tried to set it on fire. It's all on camera. Police arrived, weapons drawn. I dropped the baton, hands up, identified myself. They secured her, cleared the house, took photos, bagged evidence. The same officer from the vandalism case looked at me. You didn't touch her. No. Disarmed her, nothing more. He nodded, impressed. Most people wouldn't have held back. Most people aren't trained to, I said. They read her rights. She looked at me one last time, tears streaking her face. I'm sorry. I couldn't stop. I know, but that doesn't change what you did. They took her away, no bail this time. The law was clear. Violate the order, go to jail. The house reeked of gasoline, the couch ruined, but I was alive and my home still stood. Dawn crept in quiet, the street peaceful as if nothing had happened. But everything had. I sat on the steps trying to make sense of the waste, her life, her pride traded for control she never had. I could have hated her. But what I really felt was tired. Tired and a little bit sad for both of us. The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks later, Arlington County Courthouse, Courtroom 3, a Tuesday that felt too ordinary for what was about to unfold. I arrived early, in dress blues, ribbons, and oak leaves polished. Captain Templeton met me in the lobby, cool and professional. Ready, she asked. I nodded. The courtroom was small wood panels, bad lighting, 30 seats for observers, half full of neighbors and curious onlookers. Marlene sat at the defense table with her public defender hair pulled back, no makeup, trying to look like someone who'd made a mistake rather than someone who'd committed 7 felonies in 2 months. She didn't look at me. The judge, Constance Aldridge, was a force, mid-50s, no time for drama. Charges were read: criminal damage, trespass on federal property, attempted arson, twice violation of a protective order, breaking and entering assault with a deadly weapon. Each count carried years in prison. The prosecutor, Coleman, laid out the case timeline, documentation, security footage, DNA on the nail fragment, clear video confession on tape. The court watched the footage, Marlene in my garage, Marlene keying the car, pouring gasoline, panicking and fleeing. Then the second incident, her breaking into my house, pouring gasoline, lighter in hand, me stepping out, the police arriving. Her defense tried to argue mental distress, a crisis brought on by humiliation and public exposure. Coleman didn't buy it. The harassment started long before any arrest. This was a campaign, not a breakdown. Judge Aldridge was unblinking. Does the defense dispute any evidence? Foster hesitated. No. They had nothing. After reviewing everything, Judge Aldridge said, the evidence is overwhelming. Pattern of premeditation, escalation, disregard for law. Defendant is remanded to custody pending trial. Probable cause on all counts. The gavel came down. Marlene didn't cry. She just stared ahead as the officers cuffed her, a marionette whose strings had finally been cut. Captain Templeton sat beside me as the courtroom emptied. You did well, the judge noticed. Mostly I just feel tired, I said. What happens now? They'll offer a plea. She'll take it. Time served probation after. Her old life is over. I watched Marlene leave, wondered how it had come to this. 2 people at war, over a car, a driveway, the need to be in control. I didn't want this. Never did. You didn't cause it, Templeton said. You just refused to be a victim. Maybe. But it didn't feel like victory. 3 months later, I got the notice. State v. Gifford trial date confirmed. By then, the story had spread beyond Meadow Ridge. Local news picked it up. HOA president charged with attempted arson of veterans' property. Reporters called neighbors, whispered. Some people dropped by with pies and sympathy, trying to distance themselves from her madness. Others stayed silent, embarrassed. They'd once applauded her crusade. I didn't blame them. Fear makes people pick sides before they understand the game. Court day came gray and wet, Virginia rain dripping off courthouse steps, like the world itself was trying to wash this place clean. I walked in alone, dressed simple this time, civilian jacket, no ribbons. Didn't want to look like I was chasing glory. I just wanted it finished. Marlene sat at the defense table, thinner, pale hair, dull prison lighting already starting to erase who she'd been. Her lawyer whispered to her, but she didn't look up. When she finally did, her eyes caught mine, and for the first time there wasn't hate there. Just exhaustion. Maybe regret. The prosecution laid it out clean. Video timestamps her confession, the DNA from the nail, even the lighter found in her car. Then the jury saw the footage from the second night, her breaking in, pouring gas lighter raised. That image, her trembling hand flame hovering inches above the fumes, it hung in the room like a ghost. Nobody breathed. Not even me. Her lawyer stood, voice soft, careful. My client is not a monster. She's a woman who broke under pressure, consumed by envy, fear, and a mistaken belief that control equals safety. She needs treatment, not prison. The prosecutor didn't shout. Didn't need to. Control isn't an excuse to burn another person alive, he said. We all face envy. Only one person in this room chose gasoline over grace. Marlene was given a chance to speak. She stood, hands shaking, voice small. I thought I was protecting our community. I told myself that. But really, I was angry. Angry at people like him, people who do everything right and still have everything. I wanted to make him feel small. I told myself it was fairness, but it was jealousy. And once you start believing your own lies, you don't see how far you've fallen. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I really am. But sorry doesn't fix what I did. The judge listened, hands folded. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the kind of weight that can change a life. Mrs. G. Ford, I've seen arrogance. I've seen cruelty. But what I see here is obsession ego turned inside out until it consumed everything decent in you. You targeted a man who served this country, who followed the law, who tried again and again to resolve things peacefully. You repaid that with hate and violence. She paused. Your remorse matters. But it came too late. The sentence, 8 years, 3, suspended 5 to serve. Probation counseling, restitution for damages. Federal trespass meant she'd serve her time in a mixed jurisdiction facility, part state, part federal. No more HOA, no more clipboard. Just silence. When she turned to leave, she looked at me again, mouthed something I couldn't quite read. Maybe thank you, maybe I'm sorry. I nodded anyway. After the verdict, Captain Templeton met me outside. It's done, she said. You can move on now. But can you really move on from something like that? The neighborhood still whispered, still had its scars. The HOA was dissolved within a month, assets frozen, records audited. Turned out Marlene had been quietly skimming HOA funds, administrative reimbursements that didn't exist. A small-time fraud, but enough to explain how she'd clung to power so fiercely. When people lose control of one lie, they build 10 more to protect it. I thought about leaving Meadow Ridge, starting over somewhere quieter. But one evening, sitting on the porch with the rebuilt car gleaming in the drive, I realized this was my home. Sarah and I built this place with our hands, our sweat. Running would mean letting her win even from behind bars. So I stayed. A month later, I got a letter, no return address. Just my name written in shaky cursive. Inside one page. Mr. Carver, I'm writing from Greenville Correctional. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know I finally understand. You weren't my enemy. You were the mirror I didn't want to look into. I hope you can drive that car again someday without thinking of me. You deserve peace. Marlene G. Ford. I read it twice, folded it back into the envelope, and tucked it into the glove box of the Aventador. not as a reminder of pain, but of perspective. We all carry something heavy. Some of us just forget how to set it down. These days, Meadow Ridge is different. The lawns still shine, the flags still wave, but there's more kindness behind the curtains. People talk again. They wave. Sometimes the kids from down the street stop by to ask about the fighter jet car, and I tell them bits of old stories about courage, about discipline, about what it really means to protect something. I keep Sarah's old quote framed on my desk. Dignity isn't about what you own, it's about how you carry what you've earned. Took me a while to realize it applies just as much to forgiveness as it does to pride. And Marlene, she'll be out in a few years. Maybe she'll rebuild. Maybe she won't, but I hope she does. Because the truth is, none of us win by destroying each other. We win by learning when to stop fighting. Sometimes when I drive out at dawn, engine low, sky still soft, I pass that old stretch of houses she used to patrol with her clipboard. The air smells like wet asphalt and cut grass quiet, except for the hum of the motor. I think about her words that morning years ago. You think you're above the rules? And I smile just a little. No, Marlene. I was never above them. I just finally learned how to live without letting someone else write them for me.